Hello and welcome back. Remember, if you like these videos and you want some more, don't forget to like and subscribe with the little button thing at the bottom of the screen there. Okay, so in this session we're going to be looking at emerging left or right from a minor road into a major road and looking at the procedure and the routine for doing that. So this time, as we approach, we're going to be approaching the end of the road where we may well see give way signs, give way markings, or even stop signs and solid white stop lines. This is where we are potentially going to need to stop in order to make sure that we give way to traffic travelling left and right up and down the major road. Now the approach routine is very similar to your left and right turns from major to minor, but with the obvious difference that this time there is more likelihood that we're going to need to be stopping at the end of the road, so we need to be considering how we're going to do that safely and then how we're going to emerge safely out into the major road. So the routine's always going to start with checking those mirrors, so centre and left or centre and right. Popping a signal on nice and promptly so you give people plenty of warning about which direction you want to be turning at the end of the road, and again make sure you get your right foot over to your brake, your left foot over to your clutch, so you're just starting to slow that car down as you approach the end of the road. Now, as you approach the end of the road, you've got a bit of a decision to make, and this is really based around what your view is like of the major road itself. Okay, and we effectively divide roads into what we would call open junctions and closed junctions. Now, around town, in an urban environment, most of the junctions that you approach are going to be closed, and by this we mean that as you're approaching and you're coming down to the end of the road and you're kind of scanning left to right, you're looking to see whether there's traffic coming on the major road. Actually, you can't really see the traffic because there's houses, there's fences, there's hedges, there's parked cars, there's groups of people standing to have a chat, there's wheelie bins, there's all sorts of stuff that blocks your view of the major road, so you can't really make a safe decision about whether it's safe to go. So in those situations, and as I say, most of the time in an urban environment you're going to be approaching closed junctions. You need to be approaching the end of the road, the give way lines or the stop line, well, absolutely, definitely the stop line, because the stop line means stop, but certainly if you've got give way lines, you want to be approaching that road with the thought in mind that actually I'm probably going to need to stop here, or at best come very close to stopping, because I can't really see if it's safe for me to go. Now alternatively, you will occasionally be approaching the end of a road, and you might actually, as you approach and you're scanning left to right looking to see whether it's safe to go or not, consider, actually I've got a really good view here, I can really, I can see the major road, I can see the traffic there. Quite often this might be in a rural situation, you might be looking out across open fields and have a really good clear view of what's going on, and in which case, if you're approaching give way lines, if you can clearly see that it's safe for you to go, then you can approach with that in mind, and so you would select a slightly different gear as you approach. Obviously keep checking as you approach, make sure that by the time you get to the end of the road it still is safe to go, but you can be prepared to move through without stopping. So dealing with closed junctions, first of all, if we're approaching, we decide, okay, I can't really see if it's safe, I'm going to need to stop here or come very close to it. I'm going to continue braking using that brake pedal. I'm going to squeeze the clutch down as we approach the end of the road, only a couple of car lengths or so away from the end of the road, don't put it down too early, and as the clutch goes down you should have time just to slip it into first gear before you arrive at the give way lines. Don't worry in your early lessons if you haven't quite got time to do that, or if you don't feel you've got control, in which case keep your hands on the wheel, keep the clutch down as you approach for the stop, and then once you've come to a stop, then remember, I've got to make sure I'm in first gear before I move off again. Okay? Once you've come to the end of the road, yep, your clutch is still down, and you've come to a stop, you can then make sure you're looking right and left, you're looking to make sure that it's safe to go. If you've got a clear view, brilliant. If it's safe to go, make sure you've got your biting points settled and sorted, and off you go. And then once you're round the corner, always remember just to have a check in your mirrors, make sure there isn't somebody that you've missed that's coming up behind you, because if necessary you may well then need to accelerate in order to avoid sort of bobbling along in front of them too slowly. If you can't see when you get to the end of the road, again, it's quite a common feature, particularly nowadays, with so many cars out on the road. You get to the end of the road and you look right and left and you still can't see because there's a whole load of parked cars there. And this is where your clutch control is going to come in. You're going to get yourself ready to go, get your feet ready so you've got your biting point, and then you can do what we call peep and creep, or creep and peep, whichever way around it is, never remember. Creep and peep, I think. So you're going to creep forwards just a little bit. Now at this point you're not looking to just pull out into the road because you can't see whether it's safe, and it would be a little bit risky to just pull out and hope for the best. Okay, but you're going to creep forwards a little bit, just pause, have another bit of a look left and right. Having moved forward, you should find that your view of the road, your field of vision, has opened up a little bit more, and if at this point you've got a good clear view of the road, you can say for certain, yeah, it's safe to go, brilliant, continue through. If necessary, you might need to creep forwards a little bit further just to get a better view, and just keep doing this until you can see clearly that it's safe for you to go. Okay, a little bit of a word about positioning then. If you're turning left at the end of the road, okay, what I find with a lot of novice drivers is that as they're approaching the end of the road, quite naturally, if they're turning left, they start to approach the end of the road, they've done everything else, they've slowed down, they've dropped it into first gear, clutch is still down on the floor, they're ready for that stop, but as they approach the end of the road, they immediately start to look off to the right. Quite understandably, they're looking to see, is there any traffic coming? But what tends to happen is that as soon as you look to the right, you completely forget about your steering. In fact, you actually stop steering. So on that final car length of the approach into the end of the road, you stop steering, and so you end up coming up to the end of the road in a straight line. And what this means is that when you stop at the end of the road, instead of having your front wheels nicely tucked into the curb, you're actually 3, 4, 5 feet away from the curb itself. So that when you make that decision, oh, it's safe for me to go, as you move forwards, you automatically swing wide around the corner. Potentially that's going to put you in danger from traffic coming from the left hand side on your major road. So generally what I say to my pupils is, as you're approaching, I know you're tempted to look off to the right to see if it's safe, but forget about that for the moment. Focus initially on making sure that you're turning your car into the corner, so that your wheels are just already starting to turn that corner before you come to a stop. Obviously take a quick glance to the right if you feel you need to, and it's always a good idea to look out for pedestrians and people that might be stepping across the road in front of you. But avoid staring off that way and losing track of where your steering goes. And what this means is that once you do come to a stop, because you've already started to make that turn, when you then move forwards, and you're, oh rats, completely lost my train of thought. What this means is that when you do come to a stop, because you've already started to turn the corner, when you see that it's safe to move off again, as you move forwards, your wheels are already following the curve of the corner itself, and it just keeps you tucked in nicely as you go round to the left. Okay. When you're turning right, similarly to when we were doing our major to minor turns, if it's safe, then you should be moving towards the centre of the road, and you'll see usually as you approach the end of the road there should be a hazard warning line which will be extending down from the giveaway lines down the centre of the road. So you want to be just to the left of that hazard warning line as long as it's safe to do so. Okay, but this time don't start to steer your wheels over to the right, because obviously that potentially puts you onto the wrong side of the road and into the path of other vehicles. Ideally what you want to do is make sure that you are at right angles to the giveaway lines. Okay, and this means that you're not going to be poking out over the end of the giveaway lines, you're not obstructing traffic that's turning in, but also it means that you've got a good clear view immediately to your left and right through your windows. Okay. Now the other option, potentially, as we said, is that you might find that you've got what we call an open junction. And as you're approaching, you can see nice and clearly, oh, it looks nice and safe for me to go. I can't see anybody coming in from the left or from the right down the major road. I think I'm going to be able to turn here without actually having to stop. Great. Still the same thing, mirrors and signal, you're slowing your car down, but actually if you think that you might not be able to, might not have to stop, change into second gear. Okay. And again, bring the clutch up, but keep it covered. So keep your brake and your clutch covered as you're approaching. Again, don't take it for granted that just because when you first looked it was safe to go, it's still going to be safe when you get to the give-way lines. So you're still observing as you approach. You're looking to keep your car in the correct position, but your eyes are moving left to right just to make sure that when you do get to the end of the road, if it is safe, great, you can steer around. But if there is something coming, possibly a motorbike or a vehicle that's appeared, all of a sudden your feet are in the right place to then be able to stop, first gear, and then as before, get yourself ready to go and look for a safe opportunity. Okay, let's go and try a few examples. Okay, so at the end of this road, I'm going to be turning left, so check centre and left mirrors, signal left, starting to brake now. Now I've got fences on the left, brick walls on the right, I can't really see what's going, so I'm expecting to stop. Clutch goes down first gear, there it comes, focusing on the corner, so I'll turn that wheel in as I look to the right, and it looks clear, so I'm just going to come out. Because I've already turned, that allows me to stay nice and close to the corner, just checking it's okay for me to fit through this little gap here. Signalling, a little bit of brake, down to second gear. Looking at the oncoming traffic, I'm probably going to need to, actually no, I think there's a bit of a gap there, I can make that. There we come. So again, coming up to the end of the road here, you can see that hazard warning line coming down from the end and the giveways. So mirrors and signal left, a little bit of brake. Okay, still can't really see very clearly, so I'm just going to drop it into first, and actually as I come up I'm looking to the right and it is clear for me to go, so I'm not going to fully stop. And around I come. Take this next turning on the left here. It's quite a narrow junction, so it's not good visibility, so keeping it slow as I turn in. Checking the mirrors, and off we go. Again, coming up to the end of the road, turning left, check centre and left mirrors, signalling left, watching out for scooters coming across, down into first gear because I really can't see. And even as I get to the end here, it's still tricky, but I've turned into the corner. So I've got my feet ready and I'm just creeping forwards, looking both ways, and I can see it's clear to go, and I'm following the corner around nice and clearly. Check behind me as I accelerate away up into third. I'm going to take the next road on the left, so centre and left mirrors, signal, brake, down to second gear, clutch is back up, checking to make sure it's safe, final mirror check. Around we come. Check behind, accelerate away. Coming up to the end of this road here, we're going to be turning right, so centre and right mirrors this time. Signal, a little bit of brake again, hedgerows on both sides, it's a closed junction. Clutch goes down into first gear. Just keeping the car nice and straight here, so I'm at right angles to the junction. Okay, and then just creeping forwards, keeping my eyes looking both ways as we merge out. Check behind, accelerate away, third gear. Approaching a corner here, not great visibility, so I'm just going to slow down. I never know what's around the corner, dropping it into second, clutch is back up and looking ahead. It's nice and clear, so we're going around the parked cars and at the end of the road turning right. So again, check centre and right mirrors and signal right, braking a little bit. Still can't see particularly, we've got trees, railings, so I'm going to go to first gear. As I come to the end, my eyes are moving right and left. Got a truck coming on the left. So I've stopped. While I'm waiting, I'm just starting to get my feet ready. A little bit of gas, clutch is coming up to my biting point. It's nice and clear. So around we go. Check behind. From this chap in front, trying to make sure we keep the junction on the left clear as well, just in case anybody wants to turn in or out while we're waiting. And then checking before we move away again, always checking for cyclists before we move off. We're going to take the next road on the right, so centre, right, signal. I'm already in second, looking ahead, no oncoming traffic to be worried about. Checking the junction before I turn. Centre and left mirrors, signal left, a little bit of brake, again it's that same junction, just slowing down for the cyclist. Good, turning into the corner before we come to a stop, we're in first gear, checking right and left, it looks clear, so we're just gently rolling out, keeping it tucked in on the left as we go around. And checking behind. So at this next junction, as we approach, I'm going to be turning left, so I'm going to do mirrors and signal, and as I approach I've got quite a good view through the trees to the right, so I'm actually going to drop down into second gear. Just going to keep an eye on these guys wandering through, but actually I can keep checking, it still looks clear, so I'm staying in second and round I go. Take the next left, mirrors, signal. Steady speed as we go around the corner, keeping it tucked in, check behind, accelerate away. And then one last one at the end here, we're going to be turning right at the end of the road, so mirrors, signal, squeeze the brake, and really poor visibility here, so definitely dropping out into first gear. I come to a stop at the end, just got my biting point ready straight away, and now I'm just creeping out because there's a hedge on my right that makes visibility really quite poor, so my eyes are just constantly moving right to left, looking out for traffic. So I've got vehicles on the right and the left, so I'm just holding it on the biting point, and just eyes constantly. I'll quite often say, imagine you're watching a tennis match, so your eyes are just moving right to left, flicking backwards and forwards, getting a snapshot of what's going on in each direction, so you can make sure it's safe, and away you go. So there we go. Hopefully that's helped and has given you a little bit of guidance on the kind of approach routines for coming to the end of the road, the giveaway lines or the stop lines, and how to then emerge safely either left or right into a major road. Again, main thing, quite often to remember is just give yourself plenty of time. Make sure you're not approaching the end of the road too fast. Make sure you've given yourself enough time to do your mirror checks, your signals, slow your car down, consider whether it's safe or not. But also remember, very importantly, when you get to the end of the road, especially nowadays where roads are so crowded, visibility is not always as good as we would want it to be. Remember just to make sure that you can see for yourself it's definitely safe to go. There's no point in risking just pulling out and hoping for the best if you've only got 60-70% vision of the road itself. It's very, very easy to lose cyclists, motorbikes, moped riders, all these e-scooters that are now buzzing about all over the place. So you really do need to make sure, if you can't see, just use your clutch control, or if you're going downhill, use your brake control, but just creep forwards a little bit. Just take those extra couple of seconds, make sure that you can definitely see that it's safe before you actually pull out into the traffic. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope to see you next time.